What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Last Cloudia video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Sage Emperor Zekus. He recently got he was one of the units that got one of the buffs alongside S-Bet, Emtheria, DeGrogue, and Vazard. This video is going to be a little bit different because there's a lot to cover and I don't want it to be, 30-40 minutes long. I'm not a big fan of long videos myself. So the way I'm gonna do this is on the left hand side I'll just have the party menu and just showing like the build and the equipment and skills that I have, and then on the right hand side I'll have clips of taking him into I'm gonna take him into all of the Godforge bosses, I'm gonna take him into all of the limit break bosses and all of the ability gate bosses. So I'll have a clip of those fights on the right hand side, and I have them sped up by about 50% just because Zekus is going to be the only DPS and he's going to be doing only magic, so it's going to take some time to whittle them down, seeing as how they have a good amount of HP and there's also HP locks. So hopefully it doesn't look too janky, but I mean, to be honest, once you see him do the first spell, you're not really going to miss out if I speed it up a little bit, because it's just going to be the same thing over and over. But I decided to take them into all of those bosses because I mean that's pretty much the content that we have to do right now. Yeah, I could take them into Lambo or Lambda. I could take them into Pablo, but I mean those, I don't know. I'm also not a big fan of those. Like, this is more practical, right? Like, how often are you going to be fighting those world bosses just to fight them? So I decided to take him into these bosses and just see how he does. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into his traits. Okay, so here we have his old traits and then his new traits. So let's go ahead and start with Imperial Knowledge. Fire, Ice, Earth, and Thunder damage plus 25% and damage cap 3500. When magically attacking with the above 4 attributes, give minus 50% and deal damage if enemy resistance is positive. Protean Shift, regularly check for allies near death if any are found. Give defense, mind plus 15% and regenerate effect to all allies if none are found. STR, int plus 15% effect to all allies. Now with his new traits, trait 1, Fire, Ice, Earth, and Thunder attack damage plus 50%, damage cap plus 7,000. When attacking with the above 4 attributes, if enemy has resistance to attribute, resistance minus 50% and deal damage. His trait 2, regularly check for allies near death. If any are found, apply defense and mind plus 20% and regenerate effect to all allies. If none are found, apply STR int plus 20% effect to all allies. So his first trait got an additional 25% more damage to the 4 attributes, and he got an additional 3500 damage cap. So increase in damage and increase in damage cap, pretty nice. Now his second part of his first trait, when attacking with the above 4 attributes, if enemy has resistance to attribute, resistance minus 50% and deal damage. Before his buff, it only applied to magic, but now it applies to all 4 of those attributes that he uses, whether it's magic, whether it's an arc skill, or whether it's his physical attacks. So his S1, S2, S3, they all have a mini Trishula effect, or half of a Trishula effect. So that's pretty great, to be honest. Being able to ignore 50%, real nice. His trait 2, I mean, didn't really get that big of a buff. I mean, it's only 5% more defense and mind and 5% STR and int. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, but the biggest takeaway from this is that his trait 1 got a huge buff, and I'm a big fan of it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take him to the bosses, starting with Kraken. Okay, so here we are at Kraken. For this fight, I was using my alt and my main. This setup is pretty conditional, right? Like, it's just to show him doing what he can do. So with the arc that we used, it's Aldana Institute of Magic. You get 30% more int upon defeating 10 enemies. For the first trait right here, each time defeating an enemy, int plus 3%, max 10 times, resets if incapacitated. So 30% int, pretty nice. The biggest thing though is boost magic attack damage based on number of living sorcerer type allies. So if you look in the party, there's 4 sorcerers, so he's got a constant 40% more magic damage. And the Kraken is pretty heavily magic resistant. It seems like he's got a mind. But this is the gear. Kingdom of Science flag, Fantasia cape, cultist pendant, and the Sage Lord's ring just for more damage cap. Now, it's not mentioned, but his charisma affects his magic as well, not just his physical DPS. So he gets an additional 1500 on his magic. Generator, this is a Dr. Stone collab specific spell. You can do lightning gauge, but I mean, you know, this is what I had, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna just use this. As for these skills, we got MP ups, magic ups, the crits. He's only missing crit 1, so I just gave it to him. Thunder boost, thunder high boost, pose of honor. Surprise attack works well with magic because you can get behind the enemies fairly easily to proc the 50% more damage. So that's real nice to have. You'll see that all of the builds are the same. They're pretty much the same. The only things that change are just the elemental boost, so thunder boost, thunder high boost. They all change just depending on what elemental skill or spell you're using. Staff boost, staff high boost, robe high boost, magic aura, spell linkage. So you'll see that the builds are pretty similar. Some of the weapons and then the spells and some of the skills change out, but for the most part, they are the same. Now, a lot of people may not have this, which is fine, but I found that I think the most universal arc that you could probably use is Magrona. Now, I know Magrona is known for just like the physical DPS, sharp eyes. But if you look at the first part, damage to non-human boss monsters plus 30%. This isn't tied to physical or magic or anything, it's just damage. So if you're having trouble reaching damage cap or just having trouble doing damage, this is a pretty universal arc because all of the bosses are not humans. So this 30% is always going to be there. You do get this battle start chance to inflict silence on all enemies, but it's not that it's not that great. The biggest thing is the damage to non-human monsters plus 30% or non-human boss monsters plus 30%. So again, the party that I have is pretty conditional. It's pretty set up for Zekus. But yeah, that's the Kraken fight. Let's go ahead and move along to the next one, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the Marta fight. For this fight, I am using his Absolute Zero. I don't have the hydrogen disulfide from the Dr. Stone collab, the ice spell. Otherwise, I would use that. But I decided just to use his Absolute Zero. As for the arc, I'm just using this Council of 10 just for more damage cap. That's literally it, just for more damage cap. As for the equipment, Scarlet Rod, you'll see it's the same. I'll refrain from repeating myself just because maybe I might get too annoying. So you see the gear here. As for the skills, Absolute Zero has a 5,000 damage cap, so we're able to hit pretty big numbers on it. It's a slow spell, but big numbers, so that's cool. MP ups, magic ups, and as I mentioned earlier, all that really changes for the most part is just the boosts. So ice boost, ice high boost, surprise attack, you always want to keep that. Now, I do have contract with Puck. This is a ReZero collab specific thing. Ice attack magic consumes 25% more MP and does plus 40% more damage. It's like a mini magic aura, but only for ice spells. Now, if you don't have the Council of 10, again, you can do Magrona just for more, 30% more damage. And if you don't have Magrona, or you don't have it at max, you can also just do Treasure Sword. Ice damage plus 25%. So, you work with what you have. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the next fight, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the Phalmega fight. For this fight, the Aldana Institute of Magic Arc, because it does spawn little minions, so you're able to, keep this. Apart from like the beginning waves, the fact that it spawns continuously little mobs, it just helps to reach this if you can't reach it beforehand. As for the gear, I opted just for going for reaching the damage cap. So Skyfire Meteor Staff, Fire attack damage plus 30%, because damage cap means nothing if you can't reach it. So I just decided to, hey, let's just reach the damage cap, and you see that he's reaching it fairly easily. As for the spell, Ultra Fire Hail Spirit Victory, this is a slime collab specific, so if you don't have this, you could also use Black Gunpowder, which is, unfortunately, it's a collab specific, it's on Dr. Stone, but he does come with Crimson Flare, if you wanted to do that. Other than that, you got Meteor Rain. Not much to work with in terms of fire spells. But, skills are the same. Only things that change, fire boost, fire high boost. Getting behind Phalmega is kind of sketchy. But, I mean, surprise attack is there just because it's there. It's pretty universal because most of the bosses, aside from, like, Phalmega, you can get behind. So this is pretty good to have on all of the magic builds. So spell linkage, if you don't know where that's from, that is from the Star Calamity arc, which is the level 10 one. Also comes with, it's pretty fire centric. Crimson Flare, Fire High Boost, Meteor Rain. This also gives the Skyfire Meteor Staff, so pretty nice. Definitely helps out with fire damage. So yeah, let's move on to the next one, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the Jalabanga fight. In this fight, I decided to actually use Thunder magic damage because he has a 75% resistance to Thunder, or 75%, 75 resistance to Thunder. So I was like, let's see if how good his straight does. Again, I am pushing a lot of damage just from having this arc. And then having the 4 sorcerer members along with Senku, because Senku also gives an additional 25%. So this party is really conditional to, Zekus and him able to, push out some damage. But so in practicality, you probably aren't going to be using this arc just unless you're running with a group and your group decides to, and you tell them, hey, can you guys put on sorcerer mimicry? Then you could run this, but let's be honest, you aren't going to be able to make use of the 40% all the time because, not everyone's going to be running a sorcerer. So as for the equipment, Science Flag, just to push more damage to reach the damage cap. Spell, using Generator. We're hitting cap pretty often, if not all the time. MP ups and magic ups. Thunder boost, high boost. Surprise attack, pretty universal. You can get behind them. Spell linkage, magic attack damage plus 4% for each repeat of an attack magic. So after 5 times of using it, and in this case I use it more than 5 times, we get a 20% increase in magic damage. So pretty nice, pretty nice. Now unfortunately I wasn't able to kill it before the seal, so you're gonna see me here just whittle at it, but I'll cut to the end, or I'll cut it out pretty much just because I end up using my ult to kill it, but you saw that with the thunder magic, we were able to cap on it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one, shall we? Okay, so here we are in the Otherworldly limit break. A lot of these bosses don't really have the 4 attribute resistances that high. The only one is Jalabanga, but for this one, I just decided to use the Slime Collab spell because I like it. I'm pretty sure, or I think we've came to the conclusion that Black Gunpowder is better. But I don't know, I just like using the Slime Collab spell for whatever reason. So this is the gear. You see that it all is, it's all the same. Only thing that changes is the weapon. So that's why I'm not, repeating everything. I'll just let you guys view it. I don't have this at plus 40, otherwise it'd be 25% more damage, but it's not a big deal. So yeah, you see the build. Only things that really change are just the boosts. And then sometimes, depending on the SC and the spell, I take away magic just because, I like having more MP. So the magic ups and then the boost are gonna be the ones that change the most. for me at least. And then, you know, the arc. This one's the best in slot, right, for mages, because again, defeating enemy int plus 3%. So you get a 30% increase in int. It only resets if you're incapacitated. And then the sorcerer ally plus 40% with 4 of them. So that's the best in slot. The best case scenario, you would use this arc. But yeah, that's the otherworldly fight. Not anything special, just spamming spells. Once you see it once, there's not really a big point in seeing 5 minutes of spamming it over and over. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so here we are at the Visionary. Visionary, I actually decided to use something new. Well, aside from, you know, the gear, I just gave him the Scarlet Rod just for more damage cap. But as for the skills, you know, this is the same. But recently we got an arc. The new Halloween arc comes with Creature Geyser. Magic attacks are effective against creatures, and then special boost. So I was able to use these two and then get rid of Magic Aura, right? Because that's enough damage to replace that. Otherwise, I'd still use Magic Aura. But a Creature Geyser, special boost, pretty cool to use on magic. Then we have, you know, Fire Boost, Fire High Boost. As for the arc, you know, best in slot arc. And I said it before, but you know, you can use, there's a lot of arcs that you can use. For like I said, Magrona, just for the 30% more damage. Now for fire, you can use Flame Hero, because it does give fire damage plus 25%. Although that's pretty much the only thing you're going to get out of it. It is 25% more fire damage. So not bad. Not amazing, but you know, not bad. Compared to the Institute, it's okay. But yeah, that's the Visionary. It's pretty cool actually being able to use the Creature Geyser and special boost. Real nice. I'm assuming we're gonna get more of these geysers in the future, which is cool. Will I use them as often? Probably not. But you know, it's gonna be cool to have them there in their general pool. Or this, you know, I say general pool, but this arc isn't even in the general pool. Yeah, so that was that. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so here we are at the Purple Gate. I actually decided to use the better fire spell and use black gunpowder. But it's pretty much just it's pretty much just it. Just this changed. Yeah, I mean the builds are pretty universal, right? As you see, I'm not really changing that much. As for the equipment, again, stays the same. But yeah, nothing. Oh, hopefully these videos aren't too sped up. But I think my reasoning behind having sped them up is fair, because again, once you see the spell the first time, it's just me repeating it. And then the bosses have tons of HP. Then they have also the HP lock. So I was like, I'm not gonna make you guys sit through this. I think in the video, now that I look at it, I'm actually using the Scarlet Rod instead of the Skyfire Meteor Staff. So my bad on that. But there you go, fix it. So yeah, again, don't want this video to take 20 years when it's literally the same thing, just spamming magic until it dies. Of course, this isn't very, this isn't gonna happen in multiplayer because you're gonna have actual teammates doing damage as opposed to me just using Zekus for damage. But the point of this was just to show his magic damage side. I'm gonna make a video showing his physical DPS, but for now, we're just gonna cover the magic, because if I decided to put in the physical DPS alongside this, it would just take forever. It would be too long of a video. But, you get the idea. Just magic spam to death, and that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next gate, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the red gate. Now the red gate is interesting because, at the boss start, it reduces all of your MP to 0. And the cool thing with Zekus is he's got Soul Liberate, where he reduces his HP to 1 and recovers 50% of his MP. So he's able to just, get his MP back, and then as you see in the video, using Absolute 0, able to nuke all the ads. Even when they spawn, the spell is long enough to where it gives them time to spawn, and then they end up, you know, still getting nuked. So he's able to keep his MP topped up pretty easily. So absolute 0, elemental boost, surprise attack because we can get behind the boss, and then contract with Puck. I mean, you probably don't need a. I mean, even if you had this, you probably don't need it just because we're already pushing a lot of damage. But again, he's able to nuke all the ads. Oh, he's able to nuke all the ads, so he can get back all the MP he used from those 2 skills. So it's not that big of a deal. So there's the gear. As for the arc, again, Council of 10, just for more damage cap. But yeah, that's the red gate. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, shall we? Okay, so here we are in Blue Gate. Now with Blue Gate, I'm actually using the Solaris arc because it's got the 3000 thunder attack damage cap. So that's where we're hitting pretty high, 23,999. And then it's got the damage always plus 10% and then thunder damage. So we get 20% damage just from the second part, and then the third part, you know, we get the damage cap. As for the build, you know, Scarlet Rod. The spell, obviously just using Generator. So you see how universal, you know, it's somewhat universal, right? Very little changes to where I want to say the build is universal. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. Seeing big magic. I mean, I know we have Maja, right? But being able to use Zekus as a mage, you know, if you wanted to, it's pretty cool. Because I've never used him as a mage. I've always used him as a physical DPS when he came out. But now that he's got, you know, so he's got more damage potential than he did back then. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the final gate, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the green gate. We are using Sandworm arc this time because it's a, you know, massive extra damage to earth magic, and what that means is it pretty much all your magic damage gets an additional hit, and the additional hit is neutral attribute. I'm honestly not sure what the percentage is. I'm sure I could just look it up, but just for the sake of the video, it's an extra damage. It's not anything crazy, but it's enough to just, hey, this is probably the best arc that you can use for earth magic damage. Just because additional damage is, you know, more damage. So for the gear, using Kingdom of Science flag just to, you know, push the damage cap, or to be able to reach the damage cap. As for the spell, I'm using the 3700. This is from Dr. Stone from the SR arc. If you don't have, I mean, there's not a lot of good earth spells that we can use. 3700 is probably the best one. We do have Grand Cross, but I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. Long animation. It actually pushes Pablo into the sky. So if you do that constantly, then all your physical DPS allies are missing out. You know, are missing their hits because he's so high up in the air they can't really hit him. So it's pretty annoying to use. I wouldn't recommend using it. But 3700 is probably the best spell that we have right now. A learnable or teachable spell. Well, it's also limited, so I guess it's not really the best. But, yeah. You see the skills, you know, the elemental boost, pretty much the only things that change. Surprise attack works well because all of the enemies are facing away. And then Pablo, you know, for the most part, he's also facing away, depending on your teammates. And even if he's not facing away, you can just cast a spell and move behind him. So it's really not that big of an issue. But, yeah. That was that. So let's go ahead and move on back to the main menu and just share some closing thoughts. Okay, here we are back at the home screen. So my thoughts on Zekus and his magic side. It's pretty cool. I'm probably not going to use him as a magic DPS just because I think his physical DPS is a lot more fun. But I just wanted to show this. If you noticed, I said I was gonna show all the bosses, right? But I didn't show where is it at? Willow. You wanna know why? Because I do not recommend using Zekus for magic here. The point of this fight is to nuke it down as fast as you can. And at the moment, we just don't have, well, in the conditional party that I had set up, there was just no way I could nuke it with fire, ice, earth, or thunder. So, I mean, I could beat it. It would just take me, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes to take it down just by using Zekus alone. Of course, it's different with an actual party. But with the setup that I had, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm just not even going to do this. Again, you could do it, right? But I would not recommend trying to use magic, because most of the times the fights or that fight is just meant for you to nuke it, because it doesn't have an HP lock. So really, you would just want to nuke it down. So any other fight, you can take Zekus using magic, just not that one. Or you can, if you want. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. So closing thoughts on his buffs, magic-wise, pretty cool. I like it. Will I use it? Probably not, but I just wanted to show, and again, just show him in actual content that we, that we do, that we are able to do and have access to. Didn't want to take him into the world bosses because, again, how often are you really fighting world bosses? It's not very practical. I just wanted to show him in a practical use, but I say that, but the party that I was using wasn't really that practical. But yeah, that was it for the magic showcase. Let me know what you guys thought. Were the videos too sped up? Were they too fast? Let me know. Again, once you see the spell the first time, you don't really need to see it, 50 million more times. So that's why I sped it up. But let me know if it was too fast. But yeah, that was it for the video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.